please rise for the singing of the National Anthem by the North Penn School Choir and the alma mater.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare almost bursting in air, it proved through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the hope of the brave?
They won on the road against Notre Dame. A tough place to play, tough venue. But remember, they jumped on Notre Dame early. It really took the crowd out of that game. They got an interception return for a touchdown. They took
As nice to win the olden times would pledge their loyalty to keep their honor shining and ever true to me. We entered here at North Penn High with hearts resolved to dare our noblest aim to bring to fame our alma mater fair.
Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, first of all, I think you're right.
We have some folks filing in the back here, so we'll just give them a second. Well, welcome, everyone. I'm just thrilling to see this crowd. Welcome to this evening's second annual North Penn Alumni Athletic Association Hall of Fame induction ceremony. This year's event is going to be remembered not only for the 12 individuals and 2 teams being inducted, but also for the historic milestone of the establishment and dedication of the Wall of Honor. This Wall of Honor will not only be a permanent monument to the individuals and teams and coaches, will also serve as a documented record of North Penn High School, its legacy schools, and its legacy school sports history for everyone to appreciate. When we were putting up the wall this week, aside from the trauma of getting it done on time, one of the most exciting things I saw were the student athletes reading the plaques. Since the NPAA was established back in 2000, we've successfully awarded 9 scholarships. We have 2 missions at the NPAA. One is to give scholarships to outstanding boy and girl student athletes, and the other, of course, is the Hall of Fame. And since 2000, we've successfully awarded 9 scholarships to outstanding senior class members, and also in conjunction, the NPA works with the James K. Gulick Award sponsors, who've provided 6 scholarships to track and field athletes who epitomize sportsmanship, fair play, competitiveness, espoused by North Penn High School coach James K. Gulick Jr. Those folks are listed on our website, and it's in your program. So I encourage you to go look at our outstanding website, if I don't say so myself. One of our board members is Bill Sinkinson, a teacher in the school district, and he has done a marvelous job. And you can see a listing of the scholarship winners from the beginning. In addition, the NPAA has reached a milestone, to give you a little year-to-date accounting, of over 200 members. And considering we started, when I look out at this crowd, it just makes me whelm up a little bit, because there were 6 of us in the room. So it's pretty impressive. We think we struck a chord here. I said it last year, and I'll state it again this year. It's a special honor and privilege to hold the position of president of the NPAA, and to be a part of an organization that is building on its original mission of providing scholarships to student athletes, to successfully establishing the school's first Sports Hall of Fame. And by establishing the Sports Hall of Fame, we are recognizing the outstanding individual athletes, coaches, and teams that brought honor to themselves and our school. In addition, we're providing future generations a documented record of our sports history. Prior to our existence, there was no real composite of information in one spot where you can go and find and read about the athletes of the past and what they've accomplished. And it's a pretty remarkable story when you look through your program. This story will not only provide a source of pride, but also a standard to emulate. This history originated with our legacy schools, Hatfield High School, Lansdale High School, and North Wales High School, dating back to 1887, and which were consolidated, as you know, in 1955 to become North Penn High School. And tonight we're honoring individual athletes and teams that represent several of those schools spanning 8 decades. The 12 individuals in the 1976 North Penn High School Girls Pennsylvania State Championship team, which was the school's first state championship team, and the 1981 Boys North Penn High School Pennsylvania State Championship track and field team represent individuals and teams that demonstrate excellence through sacrifice, dedication, courage, hard work, and commitment. These values were instilled by coaches, many of whom are in the Hall of Fame, our Hall of Fame already, who dedicated their lives and careers to teaching athletes the cardinal values of the ancient Greek philosophy: justice, prudence, temperance, and fortitude. These lessons of virtue develop individual character that shape and influence the rest of the individual's lives. Now, at the conclusion of the ceremony, the Wall of Honor will be dedicated. So this is going to take a little walk, and there's some logistics we're going to cover in a second. But so please join the NPAA and the school officials to witness this historic event. Following the Wall of Honor dedication, you're invited to a reception and refreshments to congratulate the inductees, reunite with classmates and teammates, and meet new friends. By bringing together athletes, teams, and coaches spanning 8 decades, we hope to provide a forum and an opportunity to create an atmosphere for collegiality and reunion. Now tonight, we have a Master of Ceremonies, one of our own, Mr. Joe Heyer. He's a class of 1990. Joe did our MC last year. He did a great job. Joe is a TV play-by-play announcer for Comcast Sportsnet, Philadelphia Wings National Lacrosse League telecast, served as a radio voice of Temple Lady Owls and Coach Dawn Staley, and is a weekend news anchor for WPHT 1210 AM in Philadelphia. In addition, Joe is in his 11th season, I guess it's the 12th season now, of broadcasting high school sports for WNPV Radio 1440 AM. Joe also works full-time in corporate sponsorship sales department for the Philadelphia 76ers and the Flyers. Please help me welcome Joe Heyer.
Great to be back a second year. It's just amazing to see all the accomplishments of these athletes, and I think in addition to celebrating their accomplishments in this age of satellite radio and internet, we celebrate our own little slice of local culture. So it's great to be here tonight. We're going to start with introducing a brief piece from Superintendent Dr. Robert Hassler.
Good evening. I'm Bob Hassler, the superintendent of the North Penn School District. I'm very sorry that I'm unable to be with you in person this evening, But as athletes, I'm sure you will understand that I am on my yearly family trip, and at this very moment, on my way into Beaver Stadium at the Penn State-Michigan football game. Go Lions! Before I recognize our inductees, let me take a moment to thank everyone involved with the Athletic Alumni Association for organizing the Hall of Fame and this special evening. Through your dedicated work, we are able to recognize the many special athletes, teams and coaches that have meant so much to our district and community. And now this recognition will not only be experienced by the recipients tonight, but will live on forever on our newly established Wall of Fame, thanks to your organization. I would ask the audience to join me in a round of applause for them. Now, on behalf of the North Penn School District and Board of Education, I want to offer my congratulations to you, the inductees, as you enter the North Penn Athletic Alumni Association Hall of Fame. Your induction signifies our opportunity to recognize those athletes, teams, and coaches who contributed to building the foundation of today's athletic programs at North Penn. We are proud and honored to recognize the past contributions of a most talented group of athletes and coaches. As you may know, North Penn has been recognized by Sports Illustrated as the #1 athletic program in the state of Pennsylvania and in the top 40 nationwide with over 45 state titles. This type of success is a result of years of outstanding athletics in the history of the district and the community. Accomplishments like those of the 1976 undefeated maiden softball team are why we are the best program in PA and beyond. Tonight, it is our pleasure to bestow this special recognition upon you for not only participating in the North Penn Athletic Program, but for the outstanding personal contributions and achievements you have earned. Your honor is richly deserved and will always be remembered through the efforts of the North Penn Athletic Alumni Association. In this fast-paced world of sports today that sometimes includes too much hype, your inclusion on our new Wall of Fame will serve now and into the future as an important and authentic role model for today's and tomorrow's student athletes, making you forever a cherished member of our North Penn family. Once again, congratulations and thank you for your contributions to the #1 athletic program in the state of Pennsylvania. We truly appreciate and thank you for your contributions to the North Penn District and community. So, I toast and congratulate you, the very best of North Penn. Here's to the knights and maidens. Go North Penn!
Okay, thanks to Dr. Hassler, who's been a big supporter of this organization. Another big supporter, and the Wall of Fame wouldn't be possible without North Penn principal, Dr. Bert Hines.
Thank you, Joe, and good evening, everyone. It's incredibly gratifying for me to see so many folks here this evening in this audion. Last year when we did this, we did it over in the auditorium, and the crowd that was in there at the time just kind of was dwarfed in the auditorium. So we thought we'd move it over here, and it looks like it's a little bit crowded in here. So I'm very pleased to see so many of you come out to honor former coaches, former teams, former athletes. To each and every one of you, and on behalf of the entire staff and faculty of North Penn High School, I say welcome home. It's great to see you back here where the records that you have established were set. We're very pleased that you're able to be here on this second Hall of Fame induction, and that you're going to be here for the unveiling of the Wall of Fame down near our gymnasium area. When you walk down there this evening, those of you who are athletes in this building will see some changes. The pool that served us so well for 34 years is now a gymnasium, and in its place on the front of the building, there's a far larger pool. The old pool held about 200,000 gallons of water. The new one holds about 450,000 gallons of water, just to give you some idea of the immensity of that. Those of you who are athletes here in the 70s and in the 80s may remember, and even in the 90s, remember a small weight room. And then in the 90s, there was a bigger weight room, and we were so proud of that bigger weight room. And in no time at all, that was insufficient to meet the needs of the athletes for North Penn High School. So for those of you who've gone to this high school, what used to be the gym balcony, huge area, and for those who were students here then may remember archery classes up there and a number of other activities. If you're here in the 70s, there were bleachers up there. At this point, that is a huge fitness center, and if you get the opportunity, I would invite you to go up there, see some of the changes that have occurred. The wrestling room, which once upon a time was called the Remedial Gym, has been totally renovated. We have an incredible facility, and all of that is to try to keep today's athletes up to the level that you were able to achieve when you were here. We thank you. We thank you for the records that you brought to North Penn High School. We thank you for your hard work, and above all, I thank you for being here this evening. Congratulations.
And finally, we have familiar face, Doc Ryan, North Penn Athletic Director.
Thank you and welcome back. On behalf of the 742 student athletes here at North Penn, that's counting just everyone once if you just go through the teams. Basically all our teams have about a total of about 1,500 students or team members involved. And our coaching staff of about 84, 85. That's a huge coaching staff of quality coaches who are dedicated to the student athletes here at North Penn. As Mr. Hines and I were saying the other day when we were talking about what we were going to say, we're going to keep it short tonight because you're not here to hear us. You're here to witness the induction of all our new inductees, which we congratulate. And at this time, I say thank you, welcome, and we'll continue with the program.
Okay, we're going to get to the inductees now. I want to mention each inductee will get a proclamation from the Pennsylvania Senate, Pennsylvania House of Representatives, and a proclamation from Governor Ed Rendell. And every member of the state championship teams will get a commemorative team picture. So now we will begin with our inductees. Our first inductee not only belongs in the Athletic Hall of Fame, but would be a first ballot member of the Teachers Hall of Fame if there was one. Dan Drissell was a popular and well-liked science teacher here for 33 years, but before that, Dan was one of the premier football and wrestling athletes of his era. A 3-year letterman in both sports, Dan was first-team All-Bucksmont as a center, and he was Bucksmont champion as a heavyweight wrestler and District 1 champion as a heavyweight wrestler. He took his football talents to Temple University, where he was the starting center for 3 years. After Temple, Dan came back to North Penn to teach and has been active ever since in the wrestling, aquatic, and choir departments. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Drissell.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the association, particularly Mr. Tom Strickland. I know his dedication and long hours that he puts in to make this a successful program. I'm certainly honored to be here tonight and to be inducted with those impressive people that are sitting before you and those who you'll see whose names you'll see on the wall when we go down later on. I need to thank 2 other people this evening. One is Mr. Al Broadhag, who was my football coach in high school, and the other is Mr. Ed Clavon, my wrestling coach. Without them, I surely wouldn't be here. So thank you again, everyone.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Our next inductee comes from one of our legacy schools, Lansdale High School. Stan Fretz was a 3-sport athlete, football, basketball, and track and field. He was captain and MVP of the 1934 Huskies. and he went on collegiately to Bluffton College, where he captained both the football and track squads. And at Bluffton College, there was a building named the Fretz Building in honor of Stan. Following college, Stan came back to Lansdale. He was active in many community and municipal capacities, including a member of the Lansdale Library Board. He also stayed active athletically throughout his life, and he became a medalist in the Pennsylvania Senior Games, and he medaled in swimming, tennis, the 100-yard dash, and table tennis. And on behalf of Stan Fretz tonight, we have his daughter and fellow Hall of Famer, Mary Lou Fritz Rausch.
Thank you so much. I especially thank Mr. Strickland, even looking me up in Florida last year to present the award to me. So having not been here in person last year because I had other commitments, I most definitely want to thank all of you who are here this evening supporting this program. And I have a few mementos. As you can see, the air is sort of taken out of this 34 football that my dad had always at home in front of us growing up. But he's here in spirit, even though the air is out of this. He also was so big on the Doylestown-Lansdale game, and as you can see, Doylestown 0, Lansdale 14. And on the team, he mentioned by name, left end, all the way through. And you know what, rather than sit here and read this, to keep you all awake, I'll just send this around. As you can see, he was not an artist, nor was he a calligrapher. But I can tell you in spirit, he's here and he rejoices in seeing this many people to support North Penn events. If you saw the picture there, here's an earlier version, and this will come around as well. And feel free at the end, as it passes around, if you get tired of it, just put it in the aisle and I'll pick it up somewhere along the way. Medals galore, press clippings. You're going to love this one. Coming in, I drove 600 miles from Lima, where I teach at Ohio State University, and I started reading this in the car, and now I hope I can catch enough light on this to just share about 2 or 3 paragraphs with you all. This is from the Reporter, and this was been December 21st, 1933. Coach Newton Cowan of Lansdale High School, the mentor of the Lansdale football team, presented 2 awards to members of the team following a dinner. Henry Miniger, captain of the team, was presented with a large silver football, which goes annually to the most valuable player on the team. And then Coach Cowan told of his first impressions of the Lansdale High School football team. "I like my football players to be rough and tough," a coach declared. "When I first came to Lansdale, it seemed the football players were too nice. When we played Purcell in the first game, we were very ladylike, but we were just the opposite by the time we met Doylestown. The dream of every coach is to have a team of coal breakers, boys who have been tough all their life." Coach Cowan continued, "But by the end of the football season, although the boys were still nice on the surface, they were rough and tough under it. The important things that players get out of football are the things that will make a man out of you. You've got to be able to take it to be a football player. 5 years from now, no one will know whether you made the touchdown against Doylestown in 1933 or not, but the lessons that you learn in that game will stick with you. The crowd and the praise mean nothing. It's what you get out of it." And again, just for momentous sake, enjoy. I'm keeping this under 5 minutes, I promise. Stanley Fretz focused on service to his school, community, and even the Republican committeemen in Lansdale. And as you can see in the brochure on his page, there's a lot of other things I could list, but I'll skip over that. Throughout Stan's life, Lansdale teammates ranked first in his discussions with their family. And let me share one of Stan's favorite cheers. It went like this: "Rumanicka boomanicka, knick-knack nanny-cat, soup fat meringue, hobble-gobble wriggle-raggle, hobble-gobble firecracker, hobble-gobble razzoon, Johnny play your bazzoon, team, team, team." And he would recount us, even my grandkids, they can say that cheer. In other words, my own children. So you can imagine the joy over dinner trying to chew and say all of that at once. Last of all, even though he is not here tonight, he's here in spirit, cheering us on to support athletics and reflect on the higher calling to share one's life's talents with Lansdale area teammates and you tonight. As Stan always said, Lansdale was a wonderful place to play football with Cyril Kinsey and other teammates, and he also is here and supporting, in my mind, he was an exceptional father who promoted Lansdale community in any way he could. We love you, Dad.
We need to recruit you to teach here. That was fantastic. Okay, we'll move on. Our third inductee is perhaps the most dominant track and field athlete to ever come out of North Penn. Because when you take a careful look at his accomplishments, they are simply incredible. In football, Irv Jairus was MVP of the 1964 team. He earned first team All-Bucksmont at defensive end, but it was in track and field that Irv was a force, district-wide, statewide, and nationwide. In the discus, he set the District 1 record in 1965, and that record still stands today. He went on that year to win the state discus championship. He set the state record of discus, a mark which stood for 20 years. In addition to the discus, Jairus he held the North Penn shot put record for 35 years. Irv was also an outstanding hurdler. He was a member of a record-setting relay team. Jairus earned a full scholarship to the University of New Mexico, and he dominated there on the national level. Western Athletic Conference discus champion and record holder, he set a stadium record at the Texas Relays in 1968. Then Irv won the NCAA championship in discus. He still holds the University of New Mexico discus record. He took fifth in the 1968 Olympic trials. And in 1970, Irv Jairus was named Outstanding College Athlete in America. Irv is not with us tonight. Al Broadhag is going to read something from the Jairus family.
Thank you, Joe. This is an email from Irv. His brother, Ron, was going to read this, but his brother Ron is a cross-country coach here at North Penn, and he's in New York right now, so he asked me to substitute. Here's what Irv has to say. Many of my best memories come from the time I spent at North Penn High School. The relationships, friendships, and experiences that developed during those years with the coaches and my fellow athletes could never be replaced or forgotten. I would like to personally thank Coaches Broadhag, Crawford Sr., Gulick, Plack, and Tullio, and my family for helping to make me the person and athlete that you honor here tonight by listing me among North Penn's best. Thank you to the NPAAA for this great honor, and my only regret is that I cannot be there with you tonight to share in the unveiling of the North Penn Wall of Fame. Again, thank you and congratulations to all of my fellow inductees at tonight's event. That's our message to you. He was a great player, and he's a great man. And it's an honor for me to stand here. It was an honor for me to coach Irv and his brother Ron, and the other people that are here that I had the privilege to coach at North Penn. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Carol Schmidt Kriebel is our next inductee, and she holds a very special distinction. In her senior year, she was a member of 3 separate Bucksmont championship teams: field hockey, basketball, and softball. On the softball diamond, she was a member of back-to-back league championship teams, and she also was a member of back-to-back undefeated teams. Carol went on to Westchester College, where she played 5 sports, and she earned a number of all-league and all-region honors. She came back to the area following college to coach and teach at all different levels in the North Penn and Souderton School District. And this is the fun part. Carol has continued her athletic achievements to this day. She added a sixth sport to her resume, golf. In addition to her numerous golf league championships, She has registered the unthinkable, a total of 4 hole-in-ones. Ladies and gentlemen, Carol Schmidt Kriebel.
Wow, this has been an awesome night. To be here among former inductees, and now for me to become a part of this elite group is overwhelming. My immediate response to Al Broadhag's phone call telling me of my induction into the Hall of Fame was one of shock and surprise. I am very proud to have been a student athlete at North Penn High School in the class of 1957. We're having our 50th next year. Our girls' athletic teams, and there were only 4 back in 57, were outstanding, and we had good teams. We had a good reputation around the Bucksmont League. As he stated, winning championships was our goal. Co-champs in field hockey, champs in basketball, and champs in softball. It was not only the desire and the ability of our players, but the wonderful coaching we received. I want to personally thank my former coaches, Shirley Ott and Laura Kaler, presently members of both North Penn Satterton and the NPAAA Hall of Fames. They were terrific coaches as well as wonderful ladies and remain personal friends today. Thanks, Shirley and Laura, for helping me to shine under your tutelage. I am very happy to share this night with my partner in crime and best friend, classmate, teammate, Sondra Gerhart Rakowski. She is very deserving of this award. My sincerest thanks goes to the NPAAA for honoring me tonight. Being inducted into the Hall of Fame is something I will cherish forever. It is with much happiness, wonderful joy, tremendous pride that I accept this award. I will display this plaque with great honor. I am extremely grateful to the gentleman whose vision made NPAAA become a reality in the year 2000. One of them was my older brother, Ken Schmidt, whose memory you honored at last year's program. He was an outstanding educator and administrator, a greatly admired person, and a fantastic brother. I know in my heart he would be happy for me and very proud of me in receiving this award. Lastly, a special thanks to my family and my friends for being here tonight to share in my joy.
Thank you, Carol. Our next inductee is featured twice in tonight's program. In addition to his bio, you will find on page 7 an excerpt taken from one of Steve's motivational speeches, and it's a real good piece of reading material. Steve Miller was a 9-time Letterman at North Penn. In football, he was team MVP in 1966. It was all Bucksmont, both offensively and defensively. He was first team All-Scholastic in the Philadelphia Evening Bulletin and was first team All-State at defensive end. In basketball, he was second team All-Bucksmont as a center, and in baseball, he was also All-Bucksmont. He earned a full scholarship to the University of Virginia, where he was first team ACC All-Freshman at offensive guard. But Steve made his biggest mark in baseball, where he played for the Boston Red Sox organization for 5 years, making the Major League roster in 1973. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Miller.
Thank you all very much. When I received the phone call from Coach Broadhag about 6 to 8 weeks ago, I too was taken aback, as Carol was. And when I hung up the phone, I turned to my wife, Sandy, who was sitting there, and I shared with her the fact that I was going to be inducted, that it was going to be held on this date, this evening, the time, that I had 5 minutes to speak, and then I shared with her a little bit about the other inductees. And as I'm sharing that with her, I see her with her head down, and she's just shaking her head like this. And I'm thinking, oh, isn't that sweet? You know, she's touched by it. And I said, sweetheart, I said, what's the problem? She said, you're not going to make it. I said, oh, I said, but Coach Broadhag told me I made it. I'm in. She goes, no, I know you're in the Hall of Fame. She says, you have no shot of talking for just 5 minutes. So, and I probably don't, but I'll do my very best. The first thing I would like to do is thank the association for this honor, and it is indeed an honor. There have been a lot of athletes that have worn the Columbia Navy colors, and it's very, very special to me to be considered one of them. I would also like to add my congratulations to all of my fellow inductees. I had an opportunity to play with a couple of them. There was a few years of difference, but I did have a chance to play with Irv Jairus a little bit, and I saw Dan play, and Frank Robison as well, and some of the others I know by reputation and their exploits on the field, and clearly each of them deserves to be up here this evening. My belief is that no one attains this status without a vast amount of help from a great number of people. And in my case, at least, that's especially true. Therefore, with so very many people to thank, and not nearly enough time to do so adequately, I thought I would share a poem and a few thoughts that might capture my sentiments tonight. The poem is entitled "The Bridge Builder," and the author is unknown. An old man going down a lone highway came in the evening, cold and gray, to a chasm vast and deep and wide, through which was flowing a sullen tide. The old man crossed in the twilight dim. That swollen stream held no fears for him. But he turned when safe on the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. "Old man," said a fellow pilgrim near, "you are wasting your strength with building here. Your journey will end with the ending day. You never again must pass this way. You have crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build you this bridge at the eventide?" The builder lifted his old gray head. "Good friend, in the path I have come," he said, "there followeth after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. This swollen stream, which was naught to me, to that fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Good friend, I am building the bridge for him." With that in mind, I'd like to thank all of you that have built the bridge that has allowed me to stand in front of you this evening. I'd like to thank my teammates, coaches, teachers, and all of the people who supported me through the years. Most of that group toiled long and hard and did all the dirty work around me so that I could look better than I really was. And a lot of people just offered encouragement, a pat on the back that said, "Well done," or "You'll get them next time." There is, however, one special coach that I'd like to thank by name. You know how sometimes you connect with someone? Well, for me, that was Coach Broadhag. Among a great many things, he taught me that the real key to success, whether in sports or life, lies deep within each one of us. No one can give it to you or take it from you. You hold your destiny in your own hands. I can think of no better role model, and I thank him for being there for me. And lastly, I would like to thank the greatest bridge builders of all in my life, and those are my parents. Too often in this world today, we confuse intelligence with common sense, and the two do not always go together. If you take common sense to its highest degree, it becomes what humanity calls wisdom. That, in a nutshell, describes what my parents provided me. They have shared so much wisdom with me through my years and continue to teach me still. I am forever grateful and proud to be their son. Let me close by saying that I am truly honored to be included with this eminent group tonight, and I will always remember with great pride and fondness both this night and my days as a student athlete at North Penn High School. Thank you.
Steve looks like he can still suit him up. Our next inductee, I'm going to just state a fact. He is the best tennis player North Penn has ever produced, and by practically any standard, the greatest high school tennis player in the history of Pennsylvania. 4-time Suburban 1 singles champion, 4-time District 1 singles champion, 3-time state singles champion, and the only freshman to ever win a singles title in the state of Pennsylvania. Cliff Winn took his tennis talents and academic talents to Harvard, where he was an all-Ivy League singles and doubles champion. He was co-captain of the team, and he led the Crimson to the NCAA Sweet 16. He graduated cum laude in economics. He then spent time on the ATP Tennis Tour. Ladies and gentlemen, Cliff Winn.
Well, thank you. It's going to be tough to follow the previous speech, so I'm going to keep mine short and sweet. Things have changed incredibly here. When we just got here, I almost took my parents into the building, which apparently now holds a very large pool, and I was slightly worried that I was a little overdressed. But anyways, I'd like to thank NPAAA very much for this honor. I was ashamed to know. I didn't know that this honor existed, but now I know, and I'm very proud to be part of this tradition. Not only the athletic tradition, which is, I guess, the main focus of today, but also the academic tradition. We've had very strong academic group. I remember one of my other classmates from class of 2000 went to Harvard with me as well. I just went to his wedding 2 weeks ago, which is crazy. But I'd also like to thank my coach, Mr. Winn, who's here today in the crowd. And I'd like to give a special thanks to my parents, who are also here in the crowd, who have supported me throughout my entire life. But thank you very much.
Thanks, Cliff. We move from North Penn's greatest tennis player to North Penn's greatest sprinter. The latest in a long line of great North Penn sprint champions, Shane Pratt put together a high school career that will be nearly impossible to ever duplicate. 15-time Suburban 1 champion, 5-time District 1 champion, North Penn record holder in 3 events to this day, the 100 and 200 meter and 400 meter, and most impressive of all, a 6-time state champion. During a 2-year span of his junior and senior years, Shane was the fastest man in Pennsylvania, winning state titles in the 300-meter indoor, 100-meter outdoor, and 200-meter outdoor. He won all 3 titles both years. Shane moved on to Seton Hall University, where he was Big East champion in the 4x400-meter relay. He then competed at the University of Texas, Austin, where he was team captain, and he was all Southwestern Conference in the 4x400. And he was a 2-time All-American in the 4x400. Ladies and gentlemen, Shane Pratt.
This is, I don't feel like I'm back in high school. I feel like I'm at a college. Haven't been here for quite some time. This is very awesome. First and foremost, I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for bringing me into this world and allowing me a chance to go to a school like this. This school prepared me for everything. It definitely prepared me for the challenges that were in college, being in a really big school, being in big classes. I'd like to thank my parents. My parents got me involved at track at a very early age. My dad was a sprinter for Lansdale Catholic, so he was smart and wise by sending me and my brother sending us to North Penn, because he knew that North Penn was such a powerhouse. I'd like to thank my brother, who was my biggest fan and my best supporter. He always was giving me sound advice, not just in track, but in life in general. One of the best things that happened to me by being an athlete for North Penn running track, I met my wife, Kristen, who ran for the girls' track team, and we started dating when I was 16, and we're now married. And most importantly, I'd like to thank Coach Schwanker, who's here tonight. Coach Schwanker, for those of you that know him, he's got the most calming presence about him, the most humble guy, he's the most confident. He believed in myself more than I could ever believe in myself. He was my biggest supporter from the time I was a freshman. When I was a freshman coming up here, I was lined up with the big boys, and you know, he's like, you can get him, even though I weighed like 100 pounds at the time. And I'd like to thank the association. I think this is awesome, and I'm very honored to be part of this, and thank you again.
Thanks a lot, Shane. Like Carol Schmidt-Kriebel a few minutes ago, Sondra Gerhart-Rakowski was also a member of North Penn's 3 Bucksmont Championship women's team in the 1956-57 team, field hockey, basketball, and softball. In field hockey, Sondra led the team in scoring, and in basketball, she was the Maiden's leading scorer. She was all Bucksmont in both sports. Sondra took her field hockey talents to Westchester, where she was an all-college selection. Sondra, in recent years, has been active with the Montgomery County Youth Aid Panel, helping underage offenders. Ladies and gentlemen, Sondra Gerhart-Rakowski.
Thank you all for allowing me this honor tonight. I didn't prepare a speech because I gave my 5 minutes to Carol, who did a very nice job. But I would like to express my appreciation to my ex-teammates and coaches for helping to make this honor possible. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sondra. Our next inductee, Frank Robison, a 9-time letterman at North Penn in football, basketball, and baseball. And it was in baseball where Frank excelled the most. In 1961, Frank led the Bucksmont with a .491 average, and he was first team All-Bucksmont that year and led the Knights to the Bucksmont Championship. In addition to his bat, Frank was one of the top pitchers in the region at that time. He graduated from Sheldon College in 1965. Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Robison.
I'm a little bit nervous, but I want to thank each and everyone that came. I want to thank, I see my brother out there, one of my brothers. I see my sisters in the background, and I come from a pretty big family. We had 14 Robisons, and we were in North Wales, and we all played sports, and we all loved it, and we all fought, and we had a good time. But I just thank everyone for coming. When I got the call from Coach Al, I was kind of in a little bit of a shock, as the others were, and not knowing that I would ever be up here like this. But like others, there's 3 decisions I made in my life that I would never change. One is loving sports. I love sports, I play sports, I still play basketball, and I love it, and I like golf, and I love everything else, and I love that. And the second one is I love my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who died for me and died for everyone. And I also love my wife. She's back there in the back. You can raise your hand, honey. Of 42 years. And next to my wife is my daughter, Robin, and my little grandson, Jake, who I expect to be a very good athlete. He has all the genes in him. But I do want to thank everybody, and it just was a great honor, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Our next inductee becomes a 2-time member of our Hall of Fame. Jack Watt was the leading rusher for the 1937 Lansdale High School football team. That team was inducted last year. In addition to his football accolades, Jack was the premier track runner of his time in the region. In 1938, he was undefeated in the 100-yard, 220-yard, and 120-yard low hurdles, and he set school records in each of those events. He moved on to Mercersburg Academy, where he ran the opening leg of the quarter-mile relay at the Penn Relays, and that relay team set a world interscholastic record. After Mercersburg Academy, Jack graduated from the University of Pennsylvania. And on behalf of Jack Watt, Al Broadhag is going to say a few words.
Thanks, Joe. Up until Wednesday, I believe, Jack Watt was planning to be here. He's 86 years old, I believe now, and he was, as you read in your program, a tremendously outstanding athlete. And he sends this note to be read tonight, and I'm honored to read it. I am so disappointed to not be able to attend the ceremony this weekend after looking forward to coming up to this event at North Penn. I had hoped to say a few words about my years at Lansdale High School, so this email will have to do for now. I came to Lansdale High School while living with my aunt and uncle in Montgomeryville. During my 4 years at Lansdale High, I became very good friends with Coach Crawford. Coach was involved with establishing a fine track program during my years there, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of it. Coach was not only heading up the track program, but was also the assistant coach of football, supervising the backfield. So we were also involved for the 3 years I played the backfield in football. Many others were as fortunate as I with this experience. Coach Crawford was a very special person, one of a kind. I have had a chance to read about the history of the NPAAA. I appreciate the hard work and dedication involved for all of this to come about. I am hoping to make a trip to Pennsylvania later this year, at which time I look forward to meeting with you and seeing the North Penn High School Wall of Fame. I might add to this, when I called Jack to tell him that he was going into the Hall of Fame, the one thing he said to me was, I have a big wish that can't come true, but I wish Coach Crawford would be there the night I'm going to be inducted. Tremendous thought. I hope Jack makes it up. He'll enjoy everything, I know. Thank you very much.
Okay, 2 more inductees to go, and then we will honor our 2 state championship teams. With North Penn's storied history of aquatics, it takes an incredible athlete to stand out among the hundreds of heralded swimmers we've had here. Our next inductee is just that, an amazing testament to strength and speed. Derek Williams was a 7-time state gold medalist at North Penn, 7-time state record holder, and a 4-year high school All-American. And he was the catalyst of 3 consecutive state team championships. And all of those achievements, believe it or not, were just a warm-up for his career at the University of Minnesota, where he was a 4-year, 12-time All-American and Big Ten record holder in the 100 butterfly. Derek led the Gophers to a Big Ten team title, and at one point he was ranked 11th in the world in the 100-meter fly. That was in 1994. He was also a member of the USA Swimming National Team. Ladies and gentlemen, Derek Williams.
Thank you. It's a great honor to be here tonight. I'd like to thank everyone for showing up tonight. It's great to see all the support for all the inductees. I wouldn't be here without a lot of people, a lot of support and coaches. And it all goes back to when I was a young child. My sister was swimming, and I saw her coming home with medals, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I was like, I'd like to do that. And also to add to the fact that I was a little hyperactive as a kid. And my mother didn't know what to do with me, so she's like, well, he seems to like what Tracy's doing in the pool. Let's throw him in there. So the rest is history, and, you know, obviously I've been blessed that the North Penn Aquatic Aquatic Club and just the great aquatic program that has come to be in the area. And, I mean, Coach Bardelli, Rick Carroll, my late father, excuse me, you know, just tremendous support. My family, my family's just been through everything. And North Penn's just been a tremendous program. And obviously allowed me to go off to University of Minnesota and climb higher. So I'd like to thank North Penn coaches, Rick Carroll, Mr. Bardelli, my family. And it's a great honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. I really appreciate that. And finally, our last individual inductee, I believe, is our youngest member of the Hall of Fame, and one of the most well-rounded and accomplished student-athletes North Penn has ever produced. Jamie Willis was a 10-time letter winner. She first came up as a freshman on Jim Crawford's basketball team, and by her senior year, she had a long list of awards, including First Team Suburban 1, First Team Montgomery Newspapers, First Team Philadelphia Inquirer, and she finished with over 1,200 career points. In field hockey, she was First Team All-Suburban her junior and senior years, First Team All-Montgomery Newspapers. Lacrosse, 2-time All-Suburban 1 and Montgomery Newspapers First Team both years. Following her senior year, Jamie was named the Philadelphia Inquirer's Athlete of the Year for the entire region. And she did not slow down at LaSalle University, where she played Division I athletics in 3 sports, something very unheard of today. It was in lacrosse where she really excelled at LaSalle, First Team All-American 2 times. And in 2001, she led the nation in scoring and ended her career ranked 10th all-time in NCAA women's lacrosse history. Jamie currently teaches at North Penn. She is the head lacrosse coach here and a member of the Hall of Fame Board of Directors. Ladies and gentlemen, Jamie Willis.
I was just actually talking to my dad this morning about being a W and how it's like to be last and everything. I think we should reverse it. First, I'd like to congratulate the other inductees this evening and say thank you to the Alumni Association. I know the hard work that goes behind the scenes with everything they do. When I started thinking about what I was going to say tonight, I had such fond memories that came into my head about my athletic and also academic experience at North Penn. I met a lot of people through the years that left high school and vowed never to return. I would just laugh when they said that because I left North Penn and I knew that the only thing I wanted to do was to come back to the place that made such an impact on my life as a student, an athlete, and a person. When I look back at my high school years, I think about all the coaches, teachers, and administrators who took the time to teach me life lessons in different ways. The long preseason workouts on the field hockey field with Coach Moser instilled determination and tremendous work ethic that carried me on to a successful college playing career. In basketball, Coach Crawford taught me about commitment, conditioning, and consistency. On the lacrosse field, Coach Dottie Bunning and Stormy Vogel instilled the love of the game and the joy of just being on a team with your friends and cherishing every minute of it. I can recall the first day of preseason when I walked onto the field hockey and lacrosse field at LaSalle. I carried all these traits with me and remembered the great times, the winning tradition, and the culture of North Penn athletics. At LaSalle, my athletic and academic experience was as rewarding as my high school one, but I truly feel that North Penn prepared me athletically to accomplish and garner the awards I received at the collegiate level. People around LaSalle would ask me how I had the time to play 3 sports and go to class, and I did go to class. I would pause for a second and I'd probably respond, I'm not really sure, but now I realize that the success I had at the collegiate level was because of all those lessons I learned here at North Penn. Thanks to those who trusted and believed in me, like Athletic Director Don Ryan, I can now instill these lessons and encounters with my lacrosse team every day. I want them to enjoy the competition, play with a passion, and realize that they are part of one of the best high schools in the state of Pennsylvania. In closing, I have to recognize my family, my mom, dad, and brother Michael, who never missed a game. They always had dinner on the table, and they were my biggest fans. They were always there for support. They truly were the ones who kept me going, enjoying every minute of my athletic career, whether it was in high school or college. I knew I could look in the upper left corner of the bleachers and find the people who went through it all with me, and it's funny because they're sitting in the left too. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Before we go any further, you notice a lot of people here from last year that were inducted. Could we take a quick moment for all the members of the Hall of Fame to please rise, and let's get an acknowledgement from the crowd. That means you, Jerry. All the members of the Hall of Fame. And before we honor our last 2 teams, big thanks to the past members and everyone for attending, and I think maybe our goal will be to fill up the other auditorium in the next few years. So what we'd like to do now is bring up all the members of the state championship softball team. If you can just file up here, we're going to have you all up here, so come on up. As you make your way up, we're going to read a quick little summary of the season. The girls softball team of 1976 was the first team in the history of North Penn to win a state championship. They were 20-0 that season. And a real fun note about the opening league game, they won 45-0 against Hatboro. Obviously a sign of things to come. None of their games during the regular season were even close. They were undefeated in the Bucksmont, and they went on to the state playoff tournament. They beat Seneca 12-0. In their second game, they beat Schicklhammy 6-3, and in the state finals, they beat Cumberland Valley a close 4-2 score. And the North Penn community gave these girls a big welcome when they came back from winning that state title. So what we'd like to... So we have Joan Moser, the head coach, is here. Big round of applause for Joan. We have Ann Johnson, the first baseman. Okay. Pitcher, Cindy Kalin. Cindy Culp, first baseman. Carol McBain, the captain of the team. Cindy McBain, also a catcher. Dawn Mengel, right fielder. And Rocky Millard is also here. And I may have missed a few. Ann Johnson is going to speak on behalf of the team and say a few words. Okay, you can point out if I missed a few.
Claire Kostrubiak, left field. Steady Eddie, as we say. And Cindy Fisher, center field. Hey! You could have knocked me over with a feather if you had told me 2 months ago I was going to be standing here. The seniors are still picking on me and letting me do the dirty work here. We want to thank the association for recognizing our team in this incredibly special way. That was absolutely a magical time for our team and for all of us as young athletes to win the state title. That is something that we are all proud of, but I think what stays in our hearts was the journey in getting there. We actually, I think most of us, if not all of us, started playing softball when we were in the mid-60s, and our dads, my dad, and other dads who are here, and moms, marched us out to Moyer Road in Lansdale after they had a draft when we were like 6 years old. And we began our love of that sport. I still remember, I have to say this will not surprise my parents, but my first practice was with a man named Paul Hughes, who, God love him, he put me at third base, Rocky. He put me at third base, and I started the game by standing there with my glove under my arm, sucking my thumb. And he came over to me and he said, "All right, honey, let's get our hand out of our mouth, put it on your glove, let's get down and get ready for the ball." But I'm sure that didn't surprise my mother and father. There were two key things that contributed to our success in 1976, and one of them was talent. I'm going to just stand here and say, number one, we had the two best pitchers in the state of Pennsylvania to play behind. And I was always thanking God that they were on my team. The second is we played for the two best coaches this school has ever seen, in Joan Moser and Claire Gilchrist. I think I have nephews and and a niece, and I've had the opportunity to watch my nephews play sports over the years. I'm pretty vocal in the stands, as they may recall. And what used to drive me nuts is that there was no focus on the fundamentals of the game. And our coaches focused on teaching us the fundamentals of the game. So let's recap, shall we? The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Therefore, we learned to throw the ball on a rope. Second, we learned how to hustle down the first base line, sprint when we were walked. And then, of course, when the other team was rocking back on their heels, not paying attention, we stole second. And that always created fervor with the parents on the opposing team, thinking that, oh, this is cheating, this isn't right. The rule, we always won that rule. We also learned how to square around and put a bunt down. That was the other thing that we learned how to do. We also learned how to hustle on and off the field, hustle on and off the field between innings. You don't see that too often these days anymore. And lastly, I just want to say something to my teammates. In 1976, for me, I knew it was a wonderful opportunity to be a part of the team. But I know now, and I actually knew then, it was absolutely a privilege to play with this group of women. So I want to congratulate them as well. Thank you.
Another big round of applause. 1976 state championship team. I'd like to point out it's great to have Joan Moser back, inductee last year. She's also a two-time member now. And one name we failed to mention from that team, an important cog in that wheel was Kim Gray, a pitcher. So we want to recognize her. Lastly, tonight we honor the 1981 indoor and outdoor boys state championship track and field team. There's a really nice write-up on page 21. A couple highlights. The indoor team competed in some pretty big venues that year at the Philadelphia Spectrum, Princeton University, and at Madison Square Garden. They ended up winning the Pennsylvania Track Coaches Association State Championship at Lehigh in February of that year. And in the spring of that year, head coach Jim Gulick Sr., the track and field team went undefeated for the third straight year in dual meets in the Bucksmont. They went 9-0. They also won the District 1 championship, and they went on to win the state championship that year. The first track and field championship team-wise for North Penn was 1981. And I understand we have two members of that team here tonight. If they could please come forward. Bruce DeGudis and Keith Hawley. Come on up. And Coach Dick Schwanker, who was an assistant track coach at that time, is going to say a few words about that 81 team.
I was actually the assistant girls coach at that time. That was the title. I worked with both teams at that particular point in time. Bruce DeGudis is a pole vaulter, and Keith Hawley was a middle distance runner. And both of them were on my team in 1983. I think they graduated, right, in 1983, when I was the head coach. But in 1981, they were 10th graders, and they were an integral part of the track team, which was, as you heard, Bucksmont champion, district champion, and state champion. Bruce actually participated at the state meet. Keith was part of the but he had a tough situation because he was actually part of the 2-mile relay team at that time, it was called, and we had the best 2-mile relay team in the state of Pennsylvania. So during dual meets, Keith would run, and then of course when it became big meets, there were 4 of the guys that actually ran. And at the state meet in 81, they set the school record of 9:42, which has since been broken, but at that time it was the state record, school record, and it stood for the school for until 2002. So from 1981 to 2002, that was the record. Now, there were a number of other people involved that were not here, that were seniors, and I could not get a hold of them. I talked to a couple that were on the West Coast, and of course they weren't coming in for this particular thing, but they were very happy to hear about it. Dyran Gardner was the long jumper and triple jumper. He scored at the state meet. Keith Dean, 200-meter sprinter, scored at the state meet. Then the middle distance team of Don Travis, Dave Schmidt, Red Nansky, and Blair Mancini. Those were the 4 gentlemen who set the state record in the 4x8, 880 at the time. Blair Mancini was the number 1 gun. He had earlier in the season been named student athlete or athlete of the Penn Relays after winning the 1,500 meters down there. And then he won the mile after the 2-mile relay won. He won the mile, and he was second in the 800 meters on that day. This day was one in which the track at Shippensburg actually melted. It was so hot. They had to come out with a white compound and throw it on the track so it would not melt. So it was a very difficult 2 days to run as many races as Blair ran and did the job that he did. Okay, let's see.
is there anyone that happened to come in from the 1981 team that is not down here? No, okay. I was hoping there were 5 guys that I contacted that actually could make it, and of the 5, we're going to get 2. The rest of them, I never got a hold of. So if you know anybody from 1981, we have citations for them, we have pins for them, we have like 40, and tonight we'll give out the 2. So congratulations, guys, you did a great job.
Final thing before we turn things back over to Tom, Coach Schwanker wrote a terrific article on page 5 of your program telling about some of the great sprinters in North Penn history and Lansdale High School history. We have 3 of them in the audience tonight, Ron Hangy, Bill Cluxton, and Shane Pratt. We'd like to get a quick photo op with those 3 gentlemen if you'd come forward. I know Bill's over here and Ron's in the back, so please come forward real quick. We're going to do this quick photo op on this article that was written by Coach Schwanker. I want to thank those 3 gentlemen, 3 of the best sprinters in North Penn history. And our final item before we turn it back over to you, Tom, State Representative Bob Godshaw is here tonight and wants to say a few words. Here he is.
Coming from a neighboring school district, it's really an honor to represent the North Penn community for the last 24 years that I have in the House of Representatives. And because of that, I have the privilege of being with you here tonight to honor these outstanding athletes, many of which I met, known, played softball, football over the years, and I just want to say I'm happy to be here. Congratulations to the awardees, and looking forward to coming back next year. So thank you very much. We'll see you. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that was great. And congratulations to all those inductees and to the teams. And it's a great night. We've institutionalized our athletic history, and I think it's wonderful. And we're going to do a couple things. I'm going to say some thank yous to the people who helped put this together. And then what we're going to do, we have a little logistics issue, not issue, but a challenge. We have to get down to where the wall is going to be dedicated. So what you're going to do is go out this door, and you're going to go left, down to the next hallway, and take another left. And just follow the crowd, and hopefully some of our folks will lead you down there. And we'll give you a little break because we've all been sitting a while. So it's 8:20. Why don't we plan on being down at the we're going to dedicate the Wall of Fame, the Wall of Honor. Let's give it how much? 10 minutes. We'll get down there around 8:30. So let me just say thank you, and thank you to everyone who has helped put this together. As president, I can only express sincere, heartfelt gratitude for the opportunity to work with the individuals who make up the board of directors. These individuals enthusiastically contribute their talents, time, resources, and dedication to the mission of the organization. Once again, I want to give special thanks to Al and Evelyn Broadhag. Coach Al was one of my coaches when I played football here. And we've been working closely together since we started this in 2000. But he and his wife Evelyn have made an exceptional effort to this project. They deserve special mention because of their contribution of time, skill, energy, money, and commitment to excellence. Al was not only responsible for the selection committee from 1920 to 55, or what we call the legacy era, he was also responsible for the selection of the teams that you saw inducted this evening. He helped locate members, locating the inductees, designing the award plaques. It never ends. Evelyn helped create the profiles for the wall of honor plaques. In addition, both Al and Evelyn have provided me with guidance, suggestions on each and every aspect of the project, and especially Evelyn helps me with my grammar. Thank you, Evelyn. Jim Heimer, our vice president, has been a major contributor to this effort by acting as a liaison with school administration. Jim was also responsible for the 1971 to 2001 era selection committee, and he contributed his time and energy with enthusiasm and dedication. Bill Sinkinson, who's not here this evening, but he's our correspondence secretary. He's the webmaster of our website. If you haven't been to our website, please visit it. It's www.npaa.org, and you'll see a wealth of information there and the history of the organization, the profiles of the athletes, the folks that contributed to make this event possible, and our newsletters, and more. It's too much to go into at the time, but it's a great, he does a first-class job. He also did the program you're holding tonight, and he also did a first-class job there. Rich Schwanker, who you met earlier, was one of our board members, has been a great help with regard to writing the history of the sprinters. If you read that article, if you're a track and field enthusiast, it's a great article. It really is, and it says an awful lot about the tradition here at North Penn and Lansdale and our legacy schools. I also had the privilege of running for Jim Crawford, and it's an amazing experience being involved with it. When I was here, we had won something like 286 straight dual meets.